Hi everyone, another Republican debate, another evaluation. I'm Cliff Suttle and I'm going to be evaluating how the Republican candidates speak. Not what they say politically, but how they say it. So we just had the debates in New Hampshire and we're going to be talking about that. And one of the things I noticed right away was something very strange. Michelle Bachmann now has dropped out of the race, and she had one thing she always used to do that bugged me a little bit. And now it seems that a lot of the other candidates have picked up this bad trait. They don't realize that when they're answering the question, they're talking to the American people. Let's watch a little clip of Mitt Romney, who I like as a speaker, doing exactly what I'm talking about here.
I'm an optimist, and I certainly hope it turns around. We have millions of people who've been suffering too long. 25 million people that are out of work or have stopped looking for work, and also a lot of people who've got part-time jobs and need full-time employment.
Notice in this clip that Diane Sawyer asks him the question, and he stares right at the commentator. Now notice I'm talking this way. I'm talking here. And I never realized that I'm answering this question for you, the American people, not for her. What he needs to do is he needs to say, great question, Diane. This is what I think. We should do this and this. And what the American people need to know, you notice I turned and stared at the camera. It's very important if you're doing a debate, especially televised, that you know where the cameras are and you know how to tell which one is filming, which one is on. There's always a red light on them that says, this is the live camera. You need to look at the camera and talk to the American people. Let's check out another clip.
Senator Santorum, you have said we don't need a CEO, we don't need a manager as president. What did you mean by that?
Well, we need a leader. Someone who can paint a positive vision for this country. Someone who, has the experience to go out and be the commander-in-chief. I've experienced in 8 years on the Armed Services Committee. I managed major pieces of legislation through the House and through the Senate on national security issues like Iran, which is the most, you want to talk about the most pressing issue that we're dealing with.
Now in this clip, Santorum, who's now one of the front runners, is making the classic mistake about answering questions. He's starting too fast. He hasn't formulated the answer in his brain yet. So what you get is a nice quick start and then a couple of stutters and stumbles until he can regain his footing and start over again. This is not the way to do it. The way to answer a question is after you get the question, don't think about the first thing you're going to say. Think about the last thing you're going to say. When you stop talking, what's the message you want to leave them with? Now this gives you a roadmap. So now that you know where you're going, you have a much better idea where to start. Great question and answer people like Bill Clinton, who was a master at question and answer. If you ever notice, they'd ask him a question and he'd stop and wait. Or President Reagan with this classic, well, okay, he's doing that to give himself time to think. This is a very important thing, and Santorum just hasn't learned this. And a lot of the other candidates haven't either. They just start too fast. Give yourself a few seconds, create a strategy, and then start speaking.
People as entrepreneurs to start a business from the ground up and get customers. And well, I'm not surprised to have the New York Times try and put free enterprise on trial. I'm not surprised to have the Obama administration do that either. It's a little surprising from my colleagues on this stage. We understand. I congratulate Governor Huntsman on the success in his governorship to make the state more attractive for business. That's
this I just don't get. What's up? Romney doesn't stumble. And yet, question after question after question, I don't know, maybe he was having an off night. It's kind of important when you're doing a debate or any kind of a speech that you peak. Speakers need to start planning their speech long before they're ever up there. They need to make sure that they got their diet set right, so that their sugar level is good when they get up there. They need to make sure that their brain is clear, that they've put away all the stuff in their life that might be getting in the way of doing a masterful speech, and then come and talk. This is not like Romney to be doing this, so he's definitely got something going on in his life that's causing him to have a little bit of these brain freezes. Now, it's not bad, but when you're at this level, when you're competing for the President of the United States against other people who want it just as bad as you do, you got to bring your A game. Tonight, I think Romney was more like a B+. So start thinking, if you're doing this, start thinking about, what do I have to do to make sure that when I hit the podium, I feel wonderful?
Well, I haven't seen the film, but it does reflect the New York Times story 2 days ago about one particular company, and I think people should look at the film and decide if it's factually accurate. It raises questions.
Do you hear how raspy his voice is? This is something that happens to a lot of politicians and a lot of sales speakers I've seen, is they have to speak so much, they have to speak so often, that their voice starts to get raspy. It starts to tighten up. And you can hear that when he first starts. He clears his throat. Should have had a glass of water on stage with him, but he clears his throat. He's having a hard time speaking, and he's probably given 20 speeches in the last week, or maybe in the last 2 days. Of course it is. I want to tell you a little trick. Now, I'm not an endorser for this product. They don't pay me anything, so this is an unsolicited validation of this product. It's called Entertainer's Secret. You can buy this stuff, I think, only in about 3 places, but if you just Google Entertainer's Secret, you'll get the main website and a couple of other suppliers who sell it. This stuff, it's like a miracle cure for speakers. Let me tell you the first time I needed it. I had to do a big speech at the University of Michigan in front of about 500 people, and I woke up that day and I couldn't talk at all. I sounded like this. It was horrible. So I jumped in the car anyway. When you're the featured speaker, you've got to be there. So I jump in the car thinking, this is bad. I've never, ever, ever had to cancel a speech, but I might have to today. The whole way I'm driving there, I'm working on my exercises for my throat. I've studied that, and I'm trying to exercise and loosen up my throat. Nothing's working. Well, just a couple days before, I had bought this product just to try it. So I figured, what the heck? Took it out, sprayed a couple of shots in my mouth, and lo and behold, I could speak. It was like nothing was wrong. I went in there and gave a 50-minute presentation and nailed it. About 20 minutes after the presentation, I was back to this. But boy, did this stuff get me through it. Newt, if you're watching, it's like $15 a bottle, and this is about a 6-month supply. Go out, pick up a couple of bottles of this. I guarantee you, you won't be sorry. If you're another speaker, I can't recommend this stuff enough. Great stuff. Let's take a look at another
on
clip.
this, because supporters of yours have also taken aim at this tenure, at Governor Romney's tenure at Bain Capital, and you know the Democrats are preparing to do it as well. So on balance, should Republicans worry about this attack? Is Governor Romney's record at Bain a weakness or a strength?
Well, it's a part of his record, and therefore it's going to be talked about. And I think it's fair for the people of this nation to have a conversation about one's record. And Governor Romney can say whatever he wishes to say about it. I also have private sector experience. I combine a little bit of what Rick Santorum talked about and what Governor Romney has. I think it's a good balance. I come from manufacturing. People will find something in my record. But you know what? It's important for the people to look at our records, because everybody up here has a record that ought to be scrutinized.
This was awesome. Huntsman did a great job, and I want you to back up the video if you have to see it, of turning the question. The question was worded such a way to set him up to attack one of the other candidates, but he didn't do it. He turned the question to talk about what he wanted. He starts out by mentioning what the commentator was talking about, so you can feel like he's answered the question, but then he turns it around to focus it on him. Too many debaters worry about everybody else. They do the Coke-Pepsi thing. Remember the Cola Wars from the 1980s? There was Coke and Pepsi. Coke advertised Coke. All their commercials were about Coke. Pepsi all their commercials were comparing themselves to Coke. So Coke advertised Coke, and Pepsi was advertising Coke. This is the problem with people who try to do this attack stuff. Try not to talk about the other candidates. Plus, there's a big problem in debates. In these debates, anytime you mention another candidate by name, they get a 1-minute rebuttal. So all you're really doing is giving them another chance to talk. Don't do that. Turn the question, focus on yourself. This was a masterful stroke by Huntsman, and probably one of the best answers I've seen him give in any of the debates.
Well,
let's look at
as a quote, somebody did make a survey, and I think he came out as one of the top corrupt individuals because he took so much money from the lobbyists. But really what the whole... There it goes again.
They caught you not telling the truth, Ron.
But really...
Ouch! Did the narrator really just say that? Did he really just say that Paul wasn't telling the truth? Oh. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Shame, shame, shame. I know it's probably just something that slipped off your tongue, but wow. That just set me off. Because Paul was clearly having microphone problems. Now, he basically should have held up the debate until his mic was working. That was his responsibility. Because he went, well, here we go again. It was the first time we heard him, and then he had the feedback problem. Well, those are the kind of things a speaker has to be responsible for. If you're having a problem with your mic, you don't start until that problem is solved. I had a few problems like that when I started speaking professionally, and let me tell you, I learned the hard way that it's no one else's responsibility but the speaker's to make sure all your equipment's working. But for the commentator to actually accuse him of not telling the truth because the feedback is like a lie detector, not good. Thanks for joining me here on the New Hampshire evaluations. We have another one coming up here in just a few days. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that one too. Come on back, join me at exciteyouraudience.com for another look at the Republican candidates and how they say what they say.